If you are like most Americans, you probably think Social Security is simple. You work, you pay into the system, and eventually you retire and start collecting a check. But here is the truth that most people never learn until it is too late. Social Security is filled with lesser-known rules, provisions, and strategies that can significantly increase your monthly payment, sometimes by hundreds of dollars a month. And yet the Social Security Administration will not necessarily walk you through these rules unless you know exactly what to ask, because their representatives are trained to answer your specific questions, not to proactively optimize your benefits for you, which means the responsibility falls on you to understand these rules before you file, and once you file, many of these opportunities disappear forever. So today, we are going to walk through 6 of these lesser-known rules, one by one, explained clearly and accurately, so that by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how the system works, and how you might be able to use it to your advantage. And I want to be upfront with you, this video is for educational purposes. Social Security rules can be complex and depend heavily on your individual work history, marital status, and age. So nothing here replaces speaking directly with the Social Security Administration or a qualified financial advisor about your specific situation. But understanding these rules first will help you ask smarter questions and make more informed decisions. So let us begin with the first rule, which is about your full retirement age and the powerful impact of delaying your claim. Because many people do not realize that your monthly benefit amount is not fixed, it is calculated based on the age at which you choose to start collecting, and while you can begin taking Social Security as early as age 62, doing so permanently reduces your monthly benefit, often by as much as 30% compared to waiting until your full retirement age, which is 67 for most people born in 1960 or later. But here is the part most people do not fully appreciate. For every year you delay claiming past your full retirement age, up until age 70, your benefit increases by approximately 8% per year, which means if your full retirement age benefit would be $2,000 a month, waiting until age 70 could increase that to roughly $2,480 a month or more, and that increase is permanent. It is not temporary, it lasts for the rest of your life. And this is one of the most powerful and most underused strategies in the entire Social Security system, because so many people claim early. Out of fear that the system will run out of money, fear that they will not live long enough to benefit from waiting. But for people who are healthy and have other income sources to bridge the gap, delaying benefits can result in dramatically higher lifetime income. Especially if you end up living into your 80s or 90s, and this leads us directly into the second rule, which involves spousal benefits, and this is one of the most misunderstood areas of the entire system, because many married individuals do not realize they may be entitled to a benefit based on their spouse's work record, even if they never worked themselves, or even if their own work record would result in a smaller benefit, and under current rules, a spouse can receive up to 50% of the other spouse's full retirement age benefit, and if that 50% amount is higher than what they would receive based on their own work history, the Social Security Administration will pay them the higher amount. And this becomes especially important in situations where one spouse earns significantly more than the other, or where one spouse spent years out of the workforce raising children or caring for family members, because their retirement benefit does not have to be limited to their own smaller earnings record. They can potentially receive a benefit tied to their spouse's higher earnings instead. And this is a rule that many people simply never ask about, because they assume their benefit is based solely on their own work history, when in fact, marriage can open up additional options worth exploring. And this brings us to the third rule, which extends even further into what happens after the loss of a spouse. Because survivor benefits are another area where people frequently leave money on the table simply because they do not know the rules, and if your spouse passes away, you may be eligible to receive a survivor benefit based on their work record, and depending on the timing and your own age, this survivor benefit could actually be higher than what you would receive on your own record. And importantly, widows and widowers have flexibility that many people do not realize exists, because in certain situations, it is possible to strategically claim one benefit first, either your own retirement benefit or your survivor benefit, allow the other one to continue growing, and then switch to the higher benefit later, and this kind of sequencing strategy can result in meaningfully higher lifetime income. But the rules around timing, eligibility, and switching can be intricate, which is exactly why this is a conversation worth having directly with the Social Security Administration if you find yourself in this situation, because getting the sequencing right can make a real financial difference. And now let us move to the fourth rule, which involves divorced individuals, and this one surprises a lot of people, because even if you are divorced, you may still be entitled to claim benefits based on your ex-spouse's work record, as long as your marriage lasted at least 10 years. You are currently unmarried, and you are at least 62 years old, and here is something particularly important. Claiming a benefit based on your ex-spouse's record does not reduce their benefit in any way. And they do not even need to be aware that you have filed, because the two claims are handled completely independently within the system, and just like with current spouses, if 50% of your ex-spouse's full retirement age benefit is higher than your own benefit, you may be entitled to receive that higher amount instead, and this rule exists specifically to protect individuals, often people who left the workforce for extended periods during a long marriage, from being left with inadequate retirement income simply because the marriage ended, and yet very few divorced individuals are ever proactively informed about this option, which means if this applies to you, it is worth looking into directly, and this leads us into the fifth rule, which involves working while collecting benefits before reaching full retirement age. Because many people believe that once they start collecting Social Security, their working days are essentially over, but that is not entirely accurate. You can absolutely continue working while collecting benefits. However, if you claim benefits before reaching full retirement age and continue working, there is an earnings limit, and if your income exceeds that limit, a portion of your benefits may be temporarily withheld, and this is where the rule gets particularly interesting, because many people mistakenly believe that withheld money is simply lost forever, when in reality, it is not lost. Once you reach full retirement age, the Social Security Administration recalculates your benefit amount to account for the months in which benefits were withheld, which typically results in a higher ongoing monthly payment going forward. So rather than being a penalty, this rule functions more like a temporary adjustment, and understanding this can remove a lot of unnecessary fear for people who want to continue working part-time or even full-time while collecting early benefits, because the system is designed to eventually credit you back for those withheld amounts through a higher future payment. And this brings us to the sixth and final rule, which involves how your benefit amount is actually calculated in the first place. Because Social Security does not simply average your entire working life, your benefit is calculated based on your highest 35 years of earnings, adjusted for inflation, and here is the critical detail many people overlook. If you have worked fewer than 35 years, the missing years are counted as zero income in the calculation, which can significantly lower your average, and therefore significantly lower your monthly benefit. But on the flip side, if you continue working past 35 years, and your current income is higher than one of your earlier, lower earning years, each additional year worked can actually replace one of those lower or zero income years in the calculation, gradually increasing your average earnings and therefore increasing your monthly benefit, which means for some people, especially those who started working later in life, took extended time off, or experienced lower income years earlier in their career, working just a few additional years later in life, even part-time, could meaningfully boost their eventual Social Security payment. And this final rule is one of the most overlooked. Social Security calculates your benefit using your highest 35 years of earnings, so working a few extra years can increase your monthly payment if it replaces lower earning years. More importantly, remember that Social Security is not one size fits all. The best claiming strategy depends on your age, health, work history, marital status, and financial situation. Before making any decision, create a My Social Security account on the official SSA website to review your earnings record and estimated benefits. If your situation is more complex, speak directly with the Social Security Administration or a qualified financial advisor. The earlier you understand your options, the more control you have over your retirement income. If you found this video helpful, share it with someone approaching retirement, and we'll see you in the next video.